Exactly 16:23 Central African time. Good afternoon. It's the second day of July. Man, this time is really running away. Gave you amazing music there. We had Kane, kicked it off at the top of the hour there with I'm So Blessed. That one featuring the Best Day remix. And also after that one gave you Chrissy T, Freedom Come. Absolutely amazing song there. Tracy Carter as well coming in featuring Sir Kerr on that one. It's titled Sonwabile, which means happy people. And as well as last but not least, Afro Soul coming through. It's titled Touch Me, taking us to 16:24 Central African time. Just tuned in. Warm welcome to the CCFM Drive with Natasha and Romeo. And right about now, Tash, I think it's time for Talk Time with Tina.
It is indeed. I'm so excited for today's conversation, and it ties in perfectly with what we spoke about when we sort of opened up food and mental health. And the question we posed was, does your mood have an impact on the food that you consume? Now, joining us today is, of course, the gorgeous Mrs. Tina Cupido. And no, why are you reacting
Scoring
like that?
points here. I like it when I bring new people and then you bring up the nicer. I'm joking.
She doesn't say the stuff I tell her off air, but okay. And of course, we also are joined by the beautiful Candace Feinberg, who
Feinberg, thank you. I'll
you.
take that.
I love it. She is the wellness doer. And then, of course, also gorgeous Carla Lawrence, who is a holistic nutritionist. I want to first do the intros and, find out how you're doing, ladies. It's a beautiful Tuesday, the second day of July, a new month. Anything exciting you're hoping for or looking forward to in the month of July?
School starts next week, Tuesday. So
Same. I was actually asking Craig. I said, "Why didn't you guys respond when I asked that question?" I'm sure their parents were backing
no,
me up.
I was just busy in the background, but I was like, yeah, eat your noodles and your biscuits peacefully by yourself, Natasha. I hear you, I feel you, I don't judge you.
Love it, ladies. Your side. Anything you're looking forward to in this month?
I think from my side, I see there's a whole bunch of wellness-related events happening. Winter wellness is a big thing. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to being part of, everything happening in and around Cape Town.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also self-care month as far as I know. So that's also going to be quite interesting. A few interesting things from my side coming along those lines as well.
Lots on the go.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, thank you so much for that, ladies. A very, very much needed conversation, food and mental health. Tina, over to you just to quickly introduce our guests before we get into it.
Absolutely. So I was thinking about this topic, and then I was thinking about church, and then I was thinking about this word swallowship. Do you know that word? So what that means is we fellowship and then we eat, which makes it swallowship.
Got you.
But if you think about what we eat after these events at church, let us just be honest, man. Like, there is no real vegetableness happening or fruit. Maybe if there is fruit, we gooi it dead with something else that
Or
is sweet
stewed.
on top.
Yes.
Yes. And then on Saturday, I was at this book launch that I emceed, shameless plug. But anyway, so there was different platters, nice platters. But guess what platter was left almost by itself, feeling very lonely, was the vegetable platter. Like there was carrots and cucumber and all of those things. Then I was thinking about the scripture in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19 to 20, that we all know, we've heard 1,000 times, that our body is the temple of God. Now, most times when you think about that, people will say like it's the smoking, it's the excessive drinking, which is fair, but it's also the food that we consume. Now, I know in the context of Corinthians, they weren't necessarily only talking about the food that we put in our bodies. They were talking about the body as a whole. However, the physical body that we have, we need to take care of. So we are body, we are soul, and we are spirit. And all of those things are linked. If you think about a car, if there's a flat tire on the car, you're not going to drive it. You're going to have to fix it for the whole car to work. If you think about you have to put fuel or oil in your car, you're not going to necessarily put the cheapest one in. You're going to put the one that is good so that the car can operate at its optimum level. So we are the same. If we eat donuts and drink fizzy drinks every single day, all the time, it's going to affect our physical body. It's going to affect our energy. It's going to affect our mood. If you're tired, now just think about now you're dik geëet, sorry for that. You're full. Do you feel like praying? Do you feel like reading your Bible? Do you feel like going for the walk? No. And a lot of times the food we consume affects how we actually relate in every other part of our body. So we've got Candace and Carla here today, who is very knowledgeable about this topic, and they're going to speak about the impact that the food not only has on our physical bodies,
Yeah.
but what it also has on our minds and our mood, and even it can help or not help with our depression. So that is why we're here today.
Fantastic. I'm so excited. Now, we also pose the question to our listeners as well, whether or not
Yes.
your mood is impacted or affected by the food that you eat. I'm going to start with Carla. Now, you, Carla, are I want to get this right, holistic nutritionist. Is that correct? Dietitian. Okay. Tell us why you do what you do, and what was that calling that made you go, I want to do this. I want to be an advocate for this.
Yeah, I love what I do. I love food. So my slogan is literally making friends with food. There's a lot of issues around guilt, talking about the donuts and all the chocolates and the nice things. So there's a lot of guilt around it. And my mission in life is to make people see that food is not the enemy. Vegetables are not the enemy. So yeah, that's why I do what I do. It wasn't like God came to me in the middle of the night and told me I must be a dietitian. It happened almost by chance, but we also know that God is not a God of chance. But it's a very interesting topic around like culturally, religiously, those kinds of things. So food is much more than just like vegetables. And yeah, that's why I do what I do.
And just touching on that, like I said, we pose the question to our listeners. Is there a link between food and our holistic mental well-being?
Absolutely. There is not even a question around it. I mean, there's a lot of scientific evidence around it as well. We look at scientific articles, research that's been done around it. But I mean, if you just think of yourself, when you are not in a good space, for us as women, that time of the month, we want certain foods, and certain foods definitely, they make us feel good. So the feel good hormones are released when we eat certain foods. So there's definitely a link.
Fantastic. Join in on the conversation. We are live on Facebook as well as YouTube. That's under CCFM 107.5. Maybe you have an experience or a journey, as we've mentioned. Maybe you find yourself down and under, and you often run to certain foods as comfort, as it were. That number again, 0617981075. One more question on my side, Carla, just before I give over to Romeo. Now, when it comes to identifying, these emotions or moods, how do we go about that? And I asked this with intention because last night, as I mentioned, I had my noodles, but I also had chocolates. I just had this craving to go and buy not chocolates, biscuits, choc chip biscuits, and I finished the entire pack by myself.
Oh, wow.
Unashamedly so.
No food guilt.
You know what I mean? So let's talk about identifying.
Okay, there's a lot of kind of areas that we can look into with regards to why that happened for you specifically. Sometimes it's actually even a lack of energy. So you haven't been eating the entire day, and all of a sudden you have a spike in your sugar levels go like really low, and you want something that's high in energy, and then that's the first foods we would go to. But there's definitely also a link between your mind and relating to certain foods. So say for instance, I love sampan beans, for example. It reminds me of my mom, so that's my go-to food. So there's a lot of psychology as well behind why we gravitate to certain foods. But sometimes it's as simple as we just didn't eat enough through the day, and then we just gravitate to the high energy, high sugar foods.
I love that. 061-798-1075. Very interesting conversation indeed. Thank you so much, Carla. Join us on our social spaces. That's Facebook as well as YouTube. Leave a comment, and we will of course read it in a bit.
Candace, I want to rope you into this conversation now. And I want to ask you, is it a wellness coach Would you consider yourself a wellness coach?
A wellness coach, a health coach, a behavior coach, a
All in
change
one.
coach.
Alles.
And before we start about what you do and your impact in society as well, have you always been in love with food, or are you in love with food? What's your relationship like with food?
So that's actually been a very interesting journey for me. I am definitely one of those people that used to, I think, live on coffee and popcorn. I come from that culture. We grew up chasing the hustle, and it's all about making a name for yourself in your chosen career. Very glamorized, designing woman type of
Overly
lifestyle.
glamorous. Yeah.
And I used to be one of those people that I'd go around saying, if there was a pull, just give me a pull, and I'd rather do that. And that used to be my attitude around food for years, until I got sick and my body caved. My body was like, girl, we need to make a change here. And then I really was forced to, evaluate my attitude to food. Where was this coming from? What was my actual issue? And now I'm happily converted, and I can also say that I'm a food lover.
Yes.
And it also actually just allows me to be creative in so many different ways. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey.
Wow. Chatting to you, Candace, right now. Health coach, wellness coach, depends which cap she is wearing right now. I'm going to ask you another Candace question. Just also want you to step a bit closer to your mic so we can hear you more clear. You've got an amazing voice. In your opinion, Candace, what are the biggest reasons for a poor outlook, especially towards food, when it comes especially to food that can actually even help us as well?
Look, I mean, these two ladies, Tina and Carla, have touched on a lot of those aspects that impact that already. So culturally, what we grow up with, that's what we know. And, you can be born in South Africa and that's your experience and that's what you know. So we are a meat and potatoes country. We are a braai nation.
Yes.
So that's what we love, right?
Yeah.
And so the veggie platter would be set aside. And it's like, who's that for?
Yeah.
Salad is for the birds. These are the things that we say.
And we grow up around
that,
100%.
when you grow up in specific communities.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm a colored female and I grew
Yes.
up in the heart of Mitchell's Plain. And so when you do anything that's a little bit like, then it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Yes.
Who's that for? Like, what are you trying to
Why
like,
eating salad?
why eating
Salad.
like so you just become othered.
Yes.
And no one wants to be
Yes.
othered.
Yeah.
No one wants that. So then you also just get onto this treadmill of eating whatever,
Sure.
and then there's things like economics play a big part. Access to food.
Yeah.
We are lucky. We have a strong agricultural background in this country, so we've got access to a lot of the good things that we should be eating. Your root vegetables, your leafy greens, all of those things grow in abundance here. But again, where are you accessing those things? Are you growing it yourself? Do you walk into Pick and Pay? What are the prices like? All of these things impact. Then what it is you see on TV and social media plays a role. So it's such a layered conversation. It's a very political thing as well. Food apartheid is a
It's a
very
thing.
real thing.
Yeah.
Certain people got access to certain things. So it's a very layered and nuanced conversation. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is there
Buy it deep. Sorry, right now.
Good deep.
I love it.
food for your thoughts? Share your thoughts.
Okay, I see what he did there.
798-1075. Candace, I want to continue and latch on even to what you said. You raised something very true. That we face, depending on the communities that we are from, certain foods that we eat from those certain communities. That's a trend. If your parents ate that, you eat that as well, and so forth. And it was touched on so well as well earlier on, by Carla, when she even mentioned how that is so true. And that is so, so if my mom used to, if certain food reminds you of a certain thing, whether it's salmon, beans, whatever it is, what can we do now? Let's say we find ourselves in a certain community, or maybe we've just listened to you now and you mentioned, we're trying to break that stereotype and not just stick to the foods that we used to. Are there any ways where we can educate ourselves about certain foods, regardless of the price factor or certain factors or myths that we can bust in our journey of just trying to educate ourselves to be healthier? in our efforts to do so?
Look, I think the one problem that people have is that they've got too much information.
Yeah.
So information is not the problem.
Yes.
We have enough information out there. Everyone's online. And if you're not online, then you're seeing it on TV. Everyone knows exactly. And these are the conversations I have with people constantly.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they need to eat. It's the implementation that becomes the problem. And that's why I'm a health coach. That's what my job is to help you with the implementation. Because people definitely, there's access to online information. They can speak to people like Carla. And that's why I think it's so important to represent within spaces and people of color, so that they can also see that, listen, this is actually okay. If more of us are doing and more of us are sharing the things that we are doing, if I can post that I'm at Musenberg having a great day on the beach, then I can post that I'm having a salad. It's as simple as that. And the more we expose ourselves, and I think it really just comes back to your willingness to try something new. Mindset is a big thing.
And there's this narrative that eating healthy is so expensive.
Yes.
Which I think we need to break.
Listen, it's a massive thing. The marketing around food, the food industry, it's massive, right? It's billions of dollars globally that people spend on food marketing alone, right? So that's another thing as well. So that's another thing. Then the cost of food. Then there's the sort of the trend where people will take something like samp and now it becomes a superfood. Someone decides to label it a superfood, and now you suddenly have to pay 50 rand instead of 10 rand. And it's like, but guys, these are just our staple foods that we just need to eat. So again, it comes back to, those layered levels of who's in control of these things that we have access to, and where can we as individuals start making proper informed decisions. Because it's definitely economics, and then, it's not just for a chick running on the beach with a ponytail. It's not that. It's not that. It's for everyone.
Definitely having a hot topic in studio.
And there's so much you can say to it. I mean, I'm having questions come up as we're talking.
We can speak for days.
Absolutely. Sorry.
I'd love to find out from both Carla and Candace as well, this question, which we kind of started off in the beginning with. Love to find out from you. Is there a relationship? Is there a link between one's mental health and the food that they consume? Can it improve? Can it boost? Or can it do the opposite end and be detrimental to one's mental health?
Okay, so how scientific do you want me to get?
Let's go, Carla. You get Candace, took us on a journey. You take us on a journey.
I'm a bit of a nerdy one.
Go
so
for
even
it.
earlier when we were having a conversation, Candace was like, "What's that?" And just tell me the lay word. So I'm going to try my best. So the gut is definitely where it starts. And when I actually was writing down some of my notes, I was thinking of that verse, out of your belly shall flow
the issues of life, or out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, something like that.
But I know there's something about the belly, and I was thinking of the core and how important the core is and the gut. And for me as a dietitian, I firmly believe in the importance of gut health. So we know that in our gut, there's live bacteria. You've heard of probiotics on social media. It's everywhere. We know we must drink kombucha and take whatever medication to keep the gut healthy. So the big reason for that is because a healthy gut promotes healthy hormones, which is your happy hormones. So like serotonin, dopamine, those big words. So if you have bad gut bacteria, you're not going to have healthy hormones, the happy hormones. And there's definitely a link. And I see it often in the practice. Majority of people come in with weight issues or diabetes or hypertension or whatever, but majority with depression. So mental illness, I've picked up, has really increased. And it's definitely linked. And most often I would start with a gut and I would say we need to fix what's happening there. So we often go to the brain first, and we forget that there's definitely a link. So it's very much linked together, what we eat and how it affects depression, anxiety, all of those things.
Sure.
I was with bated breath. I was looking to see or hear if Candace was going to.
No, listen. I was like,
Yeah,
you didn't even-
Candace, like,
you didn't even tell them about the Vegas
Yeah.
nerve yet.
Oh yes, I did it. I didn't know
Wait.
how deep I needed to go.
Wait, there's more.
There's more.
So
Yeah.
then maybe just to give a more concrete sort of example, like, so there's a highway patrol between your brain and your gut. It's called the vagus nerve,
Yeah.
right? So your brain, your hormones get produced in your gut, right? And it goes to your brain, and then your brain says, okay, cool, we're happy, we're sad, we're doing all these things. But it starts in your gut, to Carla's point. So something that you eat gets digested, goes down, your body then absorbs it, and then goes, okay, cool, highway patrol, where are we going? And that's how the link is made. It's not just like there's an actual physical thing that happens.
And it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So that's also the thing. You know, oftentimes that's why I believe in holistic health.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you go to a doctor, all due respect to my doctor colleagues out there, but they will focus on the brain.
Yeah.
So say for instance, you go with depression, they focus on your brain. If you go in for IBS, they're going to focus on your IBS. But there's such a link between the two. So the gut and the brain and vice versa. So I also always promote balance in what I teach in my practice. And it's not always easy to get to that balance. That's why we have Candace. But once there's that balance and you've identified where the issues lie, then you're almost good to go.
And we'll be just a happier country, I feel. also,
Absolutely.
right?
A happier country.
I want to touch on something. So I don't know if you want to ask a question, Rams, but I'm thinking of one. I know time is against us, but let's talk about solutions. I know that you mentioned there are various dynamics to this. There's the cultural element, there's the political and economic element, but how can we sort of bring about the awareness firstly, but also change in our respective communities and in our closer family units, just to bring about the awareness that there is a link between the food that we consume and our mental health.
I think for me, it really comes back to that thing of each one reach one.
Yeah.
And for me, I needed to get healthy before I could start helping other people get healthy. And I've seen it happen. I will work with one client, let's say Romeo's my client, because he works, he's not isolated, he's part of a community. His community is his family, that's where it starts. He starts making changes without being forceful about it. He's just living his life.
Right.
He's losing weight naturally. He's not as stressed out. He's feeling more balanced and energized. His friends will go, oh, you're looking trim. What's that happening? Because people don't change when they feel forced. You need to want to change.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. There's nothing I can do. I can't work with people who aren't willing. You need to
Right.
be ready and willing, because it's
Right.
hard work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard work.
And that creates dialogue as well.
Exactly. And that's the only way, really.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important point. I've seen it so many times where somebody's forced to come and they leave and you just never see them again.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of inside of you decide, I want to make this change.
Right.
But for me, to answer your question, one of the things for me that's a big thing is the cultural aspect. And I think you can back me. I don't know if this is a good observation, but I think that once we start there and we take your cultural and what you used to and those kinds of things, and once we start telling people, let's healthify it.
Yeah.
So you can still have the traditional meals, add a little legumes,
Add some green.
eat the salad.
Eat the salad.
Put it on the side of your plate. It's
Yes.
not
Yes.
gonna harm you. And I mean, my granny used to tell us to eat carrots because we'll have blue eyes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
So,
I was told the same
I'm
thing.
still waiting for mine to come in.
Well, mine.
Ik eet no nog carrots, no
I
blue
ate
eyes.
lots of carrots. But so we also need to go back to that because we've also been a little bit
Yes.
more like westernized almost.
Mm.
And I actually have Tina pointed it out to me, the Mediterranean diet it's a very, very good diet. It's the way the Mediterranean what they follow is really good. But I wrote Mediterranean type over here. So you don't have to do what that girl on Instagram or
You don't have
whatever
to do
is
keto.
doing.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah,
Eat a
just
balanced plate of food.
yes, just still have what you have accessible, because that's also why people don't change,
Yeah.
because where am I going to buy XYZ or, so it's taking what we know from Western diets or for what works and making it work for us.
Absolutely. Could not
Because
have
it's like
it
you
better.
said, we have all the resources.
Yeah.
We're just not
So start where you are.
Yeah, I just want to add. So I felt very overwhelmed with information because that's all you see. And I think I even commented on one of your things because you're like, now you're doing this, and then someone tomorrow tell you what's wrong, and you're like,
What's going
what
on?
must I do?
Yeah.
So what we decided in our home was I was slowly making small changes. So I didn't go, bam, we're not eating this anymore. So now I just add things slowly into. So now instead of buying maybe one thing, I leave that and I take something else, and we all eat it as a family because the mother or the wife or the person in the home who's making the food, you're the one that gets to make the change.
Right.
Your
Yes.
husband's
Start
maybe
the
not
racing.
buying the food.
Yeah.
Your 10-year-old, they're just eating what you give them, right? So I started little bits at a time, and now we got the legumes, the different the beans and the leafy veggies, and we drink a green juice every other day. Like really, and my daughter's like, "What am I gonna do when I go to school? Where's
Love
my green
that.
juice?" I was like, "Okay, so okay." Coming through, but it wasn't all at once because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. Like I was like, Tina,
And
let's
it's
be real.
unrealistic to have that.
Yes,
Yeah.
so slowly, we're making the changes.
I love it. Thank you so much, ladies, for not sugarcoating.
They're almost like I need to make an appointment.
Yes, like
Carla, you had that question earlier on. One of our listeners just commented and helping us out here, where you asked, where does out of the belly it just came through now. Out of
Thank
the belly
you.
flow the rivers of living water.
Yes.
Taken from John 7 verse 38. Thank you so much, for mentioning that. And it's quite interesting as well how that's living water. Out of the belly, it's life food that you need to live.
Absolutely.
So good.
There's different dimensions to which you can interpret that. Tash, we've got some messages as well coming through on the WhatsApp line.
yes, we do. Mr. Brian Sam, Mr. Ositaduma saying, yes, he's the one giving us the correct verse. Thank you so much there, sir. Angeline Lehman is connected saying, I love the conversation. It's so true. Kennethia is tuned in as well. So interesting, the connection between our gut and mental health. We need more of this. Absolutely. Big shout out to Janine Liederman as well, saying, so informative. Loving this conversation. And then Shanti saying, I want to change. I love it.
Nice.
Working Mama _ZA saying very informative ladies. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Malvina M.
Elise. That's Elise.
Yes, Malvina M. Kami's also coming through saying, I second Kennethia Jackson. We need a whole podcast. I agree. I feel like ladies should come back.
Let's do it.
I'd love to come back.
No, definitely. And then Angela.
Angela, basta exit.
I need the carrots and the spinach.
That's
The green juice.
Exactly, Tina.
Oh, that's so funny.
Angela says, hello all. Start a veggie garden and grow your own veg as I do.
That is a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I just need to keep a plant alive first,
Same.
and then I will move
Come on,
there.
my
But really,
second
it's a
one.
design. No, plants die at my hands, but I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna
Start
get
with
there.
spinach. It's the easiest thing to
Is
do.
it?
Yeah. We
Oh, I
need
felt
more,
that now.
ladies. We need more of these
That was so good.
conversations. And again, so fitting, as you mentioned. It is. I mean, we often don't put the two together, food and mental health.
Yes.
And I think we need to start breaking these stereotypes that exist and be the change that we want to see. Debbie Demas saying, sorry, ladies, we are having Gatsby
Enjoy.
That's my mommy.
Add salad. Add salad to the Gatsby.
Oh, they do not
Yeah.
They do not like salad.
Don't take the lettuce and the tomato off.
Please go for a walk after that.
Yeah.
Oh man, ladies, for anyone wanting to
Oh,
connect
it's so
with you off air, where do we find you? What are your social media handles?
Carla?
I'm Holistic Nutrition by Carla. That's where you can find me on every platform.
Please spell that holistic because
Oh, it's W.
Yes.
Like as in whole.
Yes.
Yeah. WHOLIS.
TIC.
Fantastic. And that's across all our social media platforms.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, and you can find me as well. Instagram is Candace F Feinberg, CANDACE F Feinberg, or the Wellness Doer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I do think we need to get the ladies back. Oh, Mrs. Cupid,
No,
where can we
no,
find
no.
you?
You come in.
But we took. Okay, I can't even come back from that.
Same. No, Tash was thinking about food.
Yes.
I thought by now I'd be used to the rejection that I receive here on a Tuesday, but clearly my feelings are still very hurt. No, but we are Cupido Consulting on absolutely every single platform.
Fantastic. And thank you for introducing us to these phenomenal ladies.
They are phenomenal.
The people have spoken. They want them to come back.
Sure, no pressure.
Unsal, we'll speak to the powers that be and see if we can arrange. But thank you so much, ladies, for your time.
Thank you for having us.
And your insight. Tina, thank you so much.
It was awesome.
Yeah, next time with Tina is, of course, next week. Tuesday, same time, that's 16:15. If you've missed it, if you've just tuned in, go and have a look at our Facebook and our YouTube page. That's CCFM 107.5. You can catch the entire conversation. Still to come, we have some ads to play, and then, of course, a track by the Dumisani Project, Hot Sal Sorg, taking us, of course, to the news at 5.